How's everybody doing? Hopefully great. Just gonna talk about nothing new under the sun. Now with Genesis 6 talking about the giants before the flood, and that there'll be giants thereafter. It gives you, if you look in other parts of history and you look to see maybe where these giants were at that the Bible is talking about, then if you look to Greek mythology, and myth, right? I think that all this Greek mythology stuff probably was exactly how it says, pretty much. Because, and this happened 700 to 1100 years after Jesus died. So, if you look into that, Thor's biggest enemies were the giants. He was a half giant, I guess. But he'd go and kill all of these other giants and protect people and humans, and everybody loved him, I guess. He was just like one of them, And but what if, because look at, Jesus says that in end times there'll be those that do more than what he did, I mean, that's that's some pretty amazing stuff. And when you think about the X-Men, that would be like that same scenario. And so you look at Greek mythology with like Ragnarok. I see that they're going to come out with that movie this month, the 20th. And what Ragnarok means is it's an apocalypse. It's right at the end of times. Because right after all this, all the Greek mythology stuff, at the Ragnarok, it was the whole earth got burned up, and then it was sprouted, again after that. And so how many times, it happened with Noah. He flooded the earth. Because now this is what got me thinking about this too. If you research Odin, which was Thor's dad, now he was this guy that wanted wisdom. I mean, he just had to have it, And he was trying to figure out these ruins that were carved into the bottom of the tree of Asgard, and he didn't know what they meant. And so what he did, he tried to, because you had to be worthy. You had to be worthy in order to know what these ruins meant. And so how he became worthy to know what these ruins meant, he had him pinned himself up on a tree, put a spear in his side, and the story says that he hung there for 9 days and 9 nights, and then he was found worthy, and he knew what the ruins meant. So he copied Jesus, because the power is in the cross. He presented himself as a living sacrifice to God. See, these weren't Greek gods like the pagans worshiped these. They were people that were like everybody else, I think, and they were born again, and they were sons of God, just like the Bible says that they're sons of God. And Thor, his hammer from the old writing says that his hammer represented the cross. And that makes sense because that's where mostly all of his power was in his hammer. And if he didn't have his hammer, he couldn't really do a whole lot. Well, if the hammer represents the cross, that's telling me that everybody better figure it out that they have no power except through the cross. And so I think that Odin and like Thor and that story, they were the good guys because they fought against their enemies were the giants, and Thor's arch enemy was the serpent, the one that was big enough to wrap itself all the way around the world. That's who killed Thor. He killed that thing, and then that thing killed him. It all happened at the same time. But, you know, the pagans, when they're looking at these Greek gods that got saved by God, and he did what he did, that was their apocalypse, that was their end times, Ragnarok, just like our end times are right now. That's why we have these X-Men movies, and that's why we've been seeing the Superman movies, because there were good Nephilims and there were bad Nephilims. And what happened, the Bible, what does the Bible say that happens to the Nephilim spirits? They I think go into different people, and because they can be walking around, because the spirits are still here, because the Nephilim are not the fallen angels. The fallen angels were the ones who got everything going, but these other ones were just kind of born in the middle of everything, and God uses those. He's got his good ones and he's got his bad ones. And that's what that fight was in Ragnarok. It was against his good ones, against Satan and his army, you know. And what got me thinking about that too was that blood over intent thing that guy on YouTube started. And you know, I try to decode stuff and figure out what's going on, what's the object of that whole